Hey, Tim. Yeah, I hope everybody's ready for this storm. It's gonna come blowing through here. Come on up here. Hey, James Bailey. Come on up here and let's do some catfishing, man. Internet catfishing. Uh-oh. There's Troy.
Go to bed, Steve Adams.
Hey, man. What's up, dude?
I was just getting ready to go to bed. I thought I'd come up for about 5 minutes. I can't stay long. I tell you what, it's going to be cold here showing up.
Yeah, that's what they say.
I'm going to tell you, 11 degrees.
Yeah. Friday morning at 7 o'clock, we're supposed to hit 9 here. With 38-mile-an-hour winds.
I'm fixing to tell you, I know a handicapped man that's going to be in the house till at least Monday.
You ain't woofing.
Good night. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, you ain't woofing. Look here, Epic finna come up here in a minute.
Yeah, I'm going to bed. I just want to come up and say hello. I was on the way to the bed, and I heard his phone go off. She said, "It's Steve." And I said, well, let me go up for an aggravated for me.
Well, look here. You be careful. You be careful in that truck. Are you going to drive the truck tomorrow?
No, I'm gonna fish tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Next Thursday, you're going to drive the truck.
Yeah, I got to drive the truck at least once a week. So
yeah, a good thing because there's going to be ice on the roads tomorrow.
Well, I'm not going to be outside unless the wife throws me outside, and I'm going to try not to get thrown out.
All right, man.
We'll see you.
Hey, Eric. Yeah, buddy. Lord, Eric, Epic got to get his stuff together to come up here. He must be going to put on a demonstration for us. Yeah, has the weather hit? Well, it's in an hour. Des Moines. It ain't got here yet, but I guess it's moving on across pretty good right now. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be double rough. Too cold for me to get outside. Too cold. Eric, is that house y'all working on up there got heat in it? I guess it does. Hey, man, let me get you up here. There you are.
Well, what's up?
Hey, Tim.
What's happening, brother?
Yeah, we're getting ready. I guess y'all are too. It ain't quite hit y'all yet, has it?
No, it's cold, but it hadn't. The nasty stuff hadn't hit us yet.
Yeah. When y'all expecting?
Let me move some lights around. This is kind of bleachy.
All right.
I don't know if that's any better. Yeah, that ain't hardly any better. Oh, I know what. Steve, my old house had so few lights that I put like 150 lights in the new when I built it. I did too. They're all LED, and that ain't quite right either. Maybe this.
Oh, that's all right.
Well, you know, there we go.
There you are. Well, look at here. When is it supposed to hit? Sometime tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. My wife made sure I brought the 4-wheel drive truck home from the shop, so it usually stays up there. And she says, "Well, you better bring it because we don't know if we can get out tomorrow. But you know, maybe
That's
we
true.
will, maybe we won't.
That's true.
I'll make it to work. Hell, I just got off work about 40 minutes ago.
Man, you must be trying to. You don't want all the money. You just want all the money around you, huh?
No, since my son died, I can't hardly work. I mean, I got to work about 100 hours just to make up for, that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I understand that.
it's rough. Now I'm by myself, and I'm telling you, to build a bunch of furniture, there's a whole lot of shit to do. A whole lot.
Yeah.
And luckily this week I've got my youngest son, and he's every bit as good as the oldest son. So I'm tickled to death, and I'm starting to catch up a little bit.
There you go. All right. Well, good deal. Yeah. I think I'm on. It's supposed to be 9 degrees here. Friday morning at 7 o'clock. Where you think I ought to fish?
In your living room, right where you're at right now. That's where.
In the bathtub.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna handle this 9 degrees. That's unusual for us.
Yeah. It's this time of year. It's 9 degrees is about 2 degrees lower than our average.
Well,
Now,
hell,
when we hit like 0, we're supposed to hit something stupid like -10.
yeah, y'all going out. I'm sure
For a
because
couple days. Now that's unusual for us not to hit. We don't usually get -10 till after Christmas, but we're close enough to Christmas right now. It's only a week or so.
that's
But
right.
all I gotta say is I've been waiting for global warming since I was in grade school, and that's been like 40 some years. And they've been telling me since grade school global warming's happening, and I'm tired of waiting.
Yeah, they don't look like it's gonna happen though, does it?
No, Steve, you and I will be long in the ground before any of that shit happens.
It ain't never gonna happen.
No, hell no.
I mean, I had to teach all that stuff. I didn't teach it though. I'd bring a bag of ice to class.
Yeah.
And I'd put it in my freezer where it was all frozen solid. And this was to the older kids, the juniors and the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go out there right before class, and I'd set that bag of ice out there on the hood of one of them's truck. It was right outside the window there.
Yeah.
And I'd pull that curtain up, and I'd say, "Y'all see that bag of ice out there on Jack's truck?" And they said, "Yeah, what's that doing out there?" I said, "Well, I'm just going to show y'all what global warming is all about." I said, "You watch that ice." I said, "I poked a little bitty hole in that bag. I poked a teeny hole in that bag, and you're going to watch that water start running down the hood of his truck in a minute." I said, "Well, that's exactly what's going on in the world today, and it's been going on for about 9,000 years.
Yeah.
It didn't just start, when they invented the automobile. It's been going on for 9,000 years.
Yeah.
When this whole area we sitting in was covered in ice." I said, "And ice doesn't do but two things. It either stays frozen or melts.
Yeah.
It's no," I said, "and as it warms up, it's going to melt. And it ain't nothing that we're going to do or anybody's going to do to change the fact that ice is going to melt eventually.
Yeah.
Unless the temperature swings back and we start having another ice age."
Yeah.
And I'm
when I was in early high school, they were talking about the next ice age, and then they was talking about global warming when I was in like second grade science. The greenhouse gases and all that stuff. They made a nice little cartoon and all that stuff. And I've always been a critical thinker. But at third grade, I just didn't have enough
You wasn't smart
background
enough
to
yet.
understand it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, we got greenhouse gases in the form of, carbon dioxide. And even at third grade, I thought, well, don't plants like breathe carbon dioxide and give off oxygen? So that should actually cool the planet. And, if plants grow more, but, I knew I was from a farming community and, there ain't no plants in the wintertime sucking in, carbon dioxide. They're all asleep. And I thought, well, as much as we get more farmland year after year, because even back in those days they was taking fence rows out and
Yeah.
still cutting timber down and all that, and my world was kind of small. I mean, I didn't really realize the rest, and I thought, well, maybe global warming is happening, but I didn't realize that they were going to try to tell us that we're all going to, basically, the oceans are going to, sink New York and sink Florida and all that stuff. And we're
Yeah.
going to go back to the Mesozoic era.
And
And,
get you an electric.
all of a sudden Illinois would be covered up and the whole Mississippi River, Delta would be gone and all that. But they started to tell us about that, about the time we were, freshmen, sophomores in high school, about 1982, 81. And it just didn't make all that much sense to me. And it still doesn't make all that sense. And I'm actually smarter now than I was before. And since I pay attention to history, and you like to go back in history and find some things with your metal detector. Well, I like all the way back to the fossils and all the way back to
Yeah.
all that stuff. And it's the world's been way warmer than it is now, about 7,000 different times. It's been way colder than it is now, about 3,000 times.
Yeah.
And the cycle, the cycle is it's wide and then it's narrow, then it's wide, then it's narrow, and we're in one of them Goldilocks zone eras, and we've been in it for 10,000 years.
Yeah. That's right. And what we gonna do? Well, I won't be around when it's fully. But what people gonna do when the only thing they can buy is an electric car? I guess everybody have to take up golf because that's the only thing they'll be able to do is go play golf. And that's all electric.
Well, all I'm saying is if everybody's going to have an electric car, jobs and life better be a lot different than it is now. But if everybody thinks that government is going to take over and make your life better, government ain't never made anybody's life better. It's
No,
always made it worse.
always made it worse. And
Always made it worse.
people just don't understand that.
Well, they're
And let
fixing
me, let
to.
me
They're fixing to get a rude awakening if it keeps going the way it's going.
let me say
I
hello.
don't mean to talk about politics, but geez, if you do not have a life in which you can wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to make my own life better because I'm going to work harder, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to be whatever. If it's the same thing that's doled out to you every single day, you got nothing to look forward to. Well, the human mind is not going to do very well under those circumstances.
No,
It's You're going to be depressive. It'd be almost like you're in jail without the cell, and it's just not good.
when you lose your self worth,
Yes.
your pride,
Yeah.
you don't have anything else, and that's where we are now with this welfare community that we are raising. Let me say hello to some of these folks right quick, Abby.
Let's do it.
Alvin Lewis, how you doing, man? Jimmy Graham, Chris Everett. I think that's yeah. I think that's it. But yeah, we in a spot here where we can't get people to work now. The people don't want to work. I don't know.
You know what, Steve? That if people don't want to work, that just opens it up for the new generation coming. Because I'm telling you what, right now, I got a 17-year-old son that is him and his friends. They work. They ain't afraid. They don't complain. This new generation that's coming up, they just roll their eyes at everything that's coming around. Now, I don't know what's happening in cities. I don't care. But in the country, there's all kinds, there's legions of kids that are throwbacks like it was in the 80s or in the 60s or in the 50s. I'm telling you.
It is here too, but it's
Yeah.
They all want to work. I mean, that little school that I worked in down there, I'm gonna say 70% of them boys. Well, the girls too. Not all the girls, not as big a percentage of the girls, but the boys, they all worked.
Yep.
You know, it was a ton of them that worked. And
well,
we in a farming community, you know.
Yeah, and ours is too, but nobody does a bunch of manual labor any day like every day like we used to. We used to bale, and we used to scoop hog lots and do concrete work and paint barns and paint bins and scrape them and do all that. So, I mean, I've done about every farm job, from plowing in the fall to, and I wasn't a city kid, but I lived in town. I didn't live in the country, but I had friends that did. We scooped bins, and farmers would wait until me and my friends were available. They would talk to each other, and they'd say, "Okay, we need 7 bins scooped, and we need 2 barns painted. We whatever." Well, we got Tim and Dean and Charlie and Mark and whatever for 2 weeks. You can have them after that. So we did straight work by the time that summer break came in till we went to school back. We had constant work, and it didn't matter what it was. I mean, 2 of us was farm kids and 2 of us wasn't, but we was just as good as the farm kids.
Yep. Hey, Tim Molina.
What's going on?
I enjoyed your interview last night. Wasn't it last night?
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I watched a bunch of it. Creole was talking about drawing in pictures, and I told him before he ever drew the picture exactly where he was.
Yep. And we were talking about the and some people would want to call it undertow, but it's really not. Sometimes that stuff is only a foot off the bottom, 6 inches off the bottom, and you can't tell until you throw your baits and you feel it on the way down. A lot of people just throw it and then they click it in and they put it in a rod holder and it's still falling. Well, I feel every single one because I want to know what that bottom is, and I can't tell because somebody asked me on one of my TikTok things, how do you tell if it's reverse current under there? I said, really. I said, you can suspect it by the way the bottom contour is, but there's only one way to know. And that's if you go in there and every time you get a bite, it goes donk like that and then just kind of comes to the boat and you set the hook and you got a whole bunch of slack. And then it's, pretty much at the boat by the time you reel them up. But I do know one thing. There's very few spots that I go on the Mississippi that there is backflow like that, reverse current underneath the water, that there isn't a bunch of big fish sitting down there.
Yeah, we have a bunch of that down there. We have a bunch of that I call it back current, or that current comes back to you down deep.
Yes.
When the water is just barely running over those rock dikes or running over the rock dikes, the wing dams that stick out.
Yep. Wing dikes have it. They have the outer third always has backflow.
Yeah, and it's coming back to you.
But there's some places it looks like the current's just going down. There's no wing
straight away.
Nothing. It's just that bottom rolls down.
Just bringing it back in,
and then it goes a little bit, and then it comes back just enough so it deflects. So you got that current going over, and then you got that, and it could only be a 1 foot rise, and always there's a whole bunch of fish just sitting in this little pocket, and you think because that usually when you got current along the bottom still going downstream, they're facing to you, but when you're on that reverse current, they're actually facing away from you.
Yeah.
So you're throwing like this, your line is still going out, but the baits are coming back towards you.
Coming back this way.
Bow. and then they're going. The fish are facing away from you. They hit it and come to the boat. It's pretty cool.
Yes, it. I don't know. I figured that out. I don't know. It was long years ago, but I figured out when I could catch those conditions, that was a pretty good place to fish.
Yeah. Well,
I
Steve,
kind of like fishing those spots right there, and you. But what I got to where I would
Steve,
do,
you're a flathead guy, so you're going to recognize that. And then it's the old river rats that know it. They might not be able to explain it, but they know it. And I've met a bunch of them that tried to explain it to me, and I couldn't understand what they were trying to tell me. They were just trying to tell me that the fish run to them every time, and I'm like, why are they running to you? Because most of the time they'll use the current to go down, but they're running to you because they're using the current to come your way.
Yeah,
really interesting.
Well, I found out that if I get in towards the bank on those rock dikes, if I keep easing along and figuring out, well, when I cut the motor off, the boat tried to go back up to the dike, I'd back out and then go in a little bit further. And when I got to where the boat tried to go drift away from the dike, then I'd pull up there and tie on the dike real tight right there.
Yep.
And then throw two poles, and I throw one at an angle back down the dike.
See, Steve, this is why I like coming into your lives, because you're speaking my language, and I'll tell you, I'm not saying people don't know it, but when you've only done like a small amount of time on the river, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years, a lot of people are going for the normal stuff. But guys like you have been around long enough, and me, I've been around long enough that you go, okay, this is the anomaly right here. And you know what you were talking about, I like to call that thing, and I love this when guys are talking about something that there's no name for. Like what you were saying was like when you get just past that dike like that, and then your boat starts like tipping a little bit upstream. I call that the keep.
The what?
The keep.
The keep.
So,
Okay.
So you could almost you can't just hover there without anchoring, but there's that point, and it's only about as long as a boat. Usually,
it's a minute. I mean,
it is, and you'll go in there, you'll go up, and you get in that keep, and the water's pushing you down till you go just forward, and it's almost pushing you forward, and there isn't any discernible dip, but there's a dip there, because when I'm running a jet, I'm not worried about hitting rock dikes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll run over top of them dikes no matter what, and you'll go across, and it'll just go chunk just by about an inch. And that's the keep right there. And so when you're trying to anchor, you get in the keep and you're right behind that rock dike, your boat will surge forward and surge back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you got to get either ahead of it or you got to get behind it to actually keep your boat steady, because it'll lurch. It'll lurch 2, 3, 4 feet. Forward and back.
Yeah. But I like throwing out parallel behind those dikes, but out at an angle, and then throw one out there where it'll wash back into the base of the dike, and then throw one a little closer. I never fished over 2 poles, but I caught a lot of good fish fishing the base of those dikes and letting that current just suck that line. If you were sitting out there on the dike and threw out and it's washing it back, because I was trying to get that bait in there without all that slack in the line.
Yes, but there's always, if you're, let's just say you're on the shore and the dike is sticking out of the water, and you walk out as far as you can go, and there's still another 30 yards of dike going. If you still get on that downstream rock that's still sticking out of the water, and you cast almost 90 degrees, it's going to wash right into that hard scour hole. And if you've been on a boat as much as I have on dikes, you got you just get behind a dike, shallow, 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 shallow. All of a sudden, it's still, let's just say it's 20 foot, and then 35 foot. It's not very big. It may be the size of somebody's living room, is that little bitty scour hole there, but it will hold. It'll hold flathead. Matter of fact, not just big flatheads, it'll hold 5-pound flatheads.
It holds all kind of fish.
All kinds of fish.
And see here, that's where I skipjack hold on those rock dikes. That's where I
skipjack. We don't get that many skipjack up here. I mean, I probably count the amount of skipjacks I see on one hand.
Yeah.
In 5 days of fishing on the Mississippi up here. Now, there are pools that have a few more because it runs clearer, but you guys have way more skipjack than we got.
Yeah, we have them down here. They made a big run this year. I had a kid I taught that. Well, he's grown now. Hell, he probably old as you are. But he brought me 100 skipjacks that he caught.
Yeah. And
he went back and called me the next day. Want to know what I want anymore? I said, man, and Jeff, I ain't got room for any more. And me and Eric Polk here, we about used them all up. But I don't know. I never have been one to change baits. I'm a skipjack guy, and if I'm not using,
and I would be a skipjack guy if I could get them.
Well, moon eye. I love moon eye. You were talking about moon eye last night, and I've only caught moon eye twice, and I caught fish with them both times.
Oh yeah, moon eye are fantastic, but
I think they better make
skipjack. I would probably leave the suckers at home.
I'm not so sure moon eye is not better than skipjack, because
at some points it is.
Down here they are. I think they're a little bit of a unique bait that the catfish. It's kind of like going to the restaurant. You can order a ribeye, or you can order filet mignon. And
I would agree with you about flatheads. Flatheads, although they'll eat skipjack, and we all know they do. They'll eat cut skipjack, they'll eat live skipjack. But if you're throwing cut moon eye, I have not found a better cut bait for flatheads, as long as it's fresh, than moon eye. I
think so.
Yeah.
I tell you, blues. I caught some blues up there around Tunica, right south of Memphis. I caught him. Well, I didn't catch him. I hung him, and he ran into a Volkswagen and locked the doors on him. But yeah, that was a terrible day that day. Man, that was a good fish. That was one of those that you love to hang and you love to see the fish. And I was in another guy's boat with him.
Yeah.
But we were fishing in some terrible water.
I wish I had a nickel for every one of them.
Oh man.
Back in the day when I was under tackle and didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Well,
we'll still get some. We'll still get
I'll
some.
tell you. That was in my days of my 18 months of using braid. And when I took all that stuff off and made tomato strings out of it, that was the best day of my life as far as fishing on the Mississippi River. So that 18 months that braid cost me some misery. I lost some good fish.
Steve, I was thinking about you the other day. For some reason, of course, I go over things in my head. And I was thinking about a college professor that I had. And he kind of reminds me of you a little bit, except for you're a lot more down to earth. You was just telling that story. And I was just thinking to myself, probably 3 or 4 days ago, I wish I had Steve Adams as a college professor back in the day. Because I'll tell you, I had to work really, really hard to talk my college professors into letting me do any sort of work like maybe I had a term paper, maybe I had a thesis, or maybe I had, and I convinced them all that I could write about catfish.
There you go.
It took a lot of work. I think I would have done about 3 sentences with you, and I would have said, Steve, I think I want to do a thesis on whether catfish can see color or not. You just said, well, by God, get that done.
Go for it, man.
Yeah. It was like pulling teeth, and I had to tell him my whole backstory and what I was interested in, and I had to find something that these professors could actually glom onto. You know, like I would say this, you know, talk about this and talk about it, and they're like, okay, now we can get somewhere in here, you know, and I think my speech class, which lasted about half the semester, I think I was allowed to do 9 speeches out of 12 on catfish.
Oh, something about catfish.
Yeah, it was, and you know, my I just heard. So I've got a TikTok account now, and I just had a couple of comments from some classmates from like 1989 that was in some of my speech classes about catfish, and they said I never thought about catfish, and they private messaged me and said, you know, I've thought about catfish every now and again since that speech you had all those years ago.
There you go. That's right. Hey, Duggar, and hey, Dink.
Duggar, what's going on?
I'll
tell you what, Steve. I like that Duggar. He's out there, but I really like him.
He's a burnout hippie.
Oh yeah.
He one of them burnout hippies.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but
that's what he
always
is.
Got something good to say.
He's one of them burnout hippies. Hell, he sees aliens and everything all around his house. You know, that's got to be from all them LSD trips he took.
Well, you never know. I just kind of like the way he talks.
See, he thought he was a commercial fisherman in Louisiana because he read about him somewhere. But he was on that acid stuff back in the days, and he don't.
It's getting thick now because I've heard him talk, and he knows.
And he don't even know where he was back in them days. he allowed to have been in Minnesota. He said he ain't burned out yet.
I see you and Duggar on just kind of a, you know, punching each other in the ribs thing. Yeah.
Stirring the pot. Hey, Terry Stanfield. Yeah, I'm just messing with him. Duggar set me straight year before last on shrimp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I thought these shrimp that we catch out here in the river, these big old prawn shrimp,
mm-hmm.
You know, all these he comes. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Hey, they come up the river.
What the hell you saying burn out?
Yeah, there's Duggar right now. Look at that.
What's up?
He's ready to, you know.
What you doing, Coach? Who you calling a burnout? You talking about yesterday has been. You look at there.
Hey, Stan.
That's some funny shit.
What's going on, fellas?
What's happening?
Thank you, Stan. Hey, Dale.
Man, he's in there calling people burnout. I had to come up. I couldn't just sit there. I was just going to sit there and you know, watch y'all talk and listen to y'all talk until he started attacking me. Did you see him attack me?
You ain't going out yet, are you?
Duggar, you know it wasn't me. Mm-hmm.
You know, he's pretty good fisherman. Somebody he sat there and spit tobacco and sit on a bank.
How you doing, Duggar?
Man, I'm doing so good. I am loaded with catfish rods now. Now I'm ready to go fishing.
Nice.
Uncle Lou.
Well, you've been getting ready to go catfishing ever since I met you.
I've been catching channel cat, but we ain't got no big cat here in New Mexico unless I go down there by Chris Flores. That's still a 5-hour trip.
Oh yeah.
You know. So.
Look, my oldest son and his family are in Red River, New Mexico.
Yeah.
At that ski resort right now.
I was there day before yesterday. My brother works here at the Carabel Condos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a maintenance guy over there and runs the office and stuff. So
He ain't got any
I'm up there
discount.
all the time.
He ain't got no discount tickets or nothing he can hand out up there, does he?
Hey, you just tell him to say Doug Themis said give him a room and
Well, they got a whole place. They got a whole place up there right now. I don't know when they're coming home.
Yeah, he can hook them up. You know, if he's not full, you know that if the place ain't jumping, he'll give him a good rate.
Yeah, it's they live in north central Arkansas, and they fixing to get 4-degree temperatures, and they in New
Good
Mexico
Lord. Well, I
in
tell
the
you what,
snow.
they ain't. You know, they're not gonna gain much because there ain't no sauna up there. I'm telling you, it's
Yeah,
10 degrees there too. It was below zero the other night up there.
Yeah.
Let's see, man. I had 12 degrees right here. You know, so I mean, it was colder than a witch's boobies there here, but I ain't
How's
kidding
that
you.
global warming?
Yeah, how's
Yeah.
that global warming working out, man? Yeah. You know, it's all malarkey. You know it. We know
I've been
it.
waiting for it all my life, Duggar.
You know,
I've been waiting for it because this
JBT.
place is cold up here.
and all the politicians that are pushing on that climate change and how the Arctic's going to melt and all that, they're all buying seashore property when they should be buying it up on the mountains instead of right there by the sea. If you know, if the Arctic is going to melt and the sea's going to rise, you know.
Remember,
Look, the Arctic can melt and the seas wouldn't.
rules for thee and not for me.
Right, man. You know, I don't want to go in there and get Coach a strike because I'm a pretty opinionated guy with what's going on with our gov.
Man, that then striking don't bother me. Well, I ain't in it to win it.
Well, the guys that's in office right now, the party and all the idiots that they're in charge right now are pretending to be in charge. When you all you got to do is look at our border and tell what they're trying to do.
Oh,
you know, they're not paying any attention to that border at all. Kamala won't go down there because the cameras would follow her, and then they could see. You know, I just watched where they got 1,000 or so people laying around inside the airport there because everything else has got 3 times more people in it than what it should have. There's a couple thousand people waiting on that Article 42 to run out so they can crash our border. We're being invaded.
Well, evidently the wages per hour, since there wasn't enough of them here, got too high for them to be doing their laundry and such and mowing the lawn. So they influx them in so they can get a lower wage.
You think so?
And if you believe that, it ain't but one thing. It's all about one thing. And it's a 4-letter word.
That's what it is.
VOTE.
VOTE. But you know what? It is backfiring on them because those people coming are not all on their side like they think they are.
Oh, I don't know. Hey, Mark.
And they're coming from everywhere too, man. They're coming from Colombia, Peru, Dominican Republic. It's not just Mexico.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Turtle Lady. And let me catch you up here a little bit. I caught JBT.
Turtle Lady's in here. Holy moly, she grabs turtles.
She grabbed them.
She does.
Go there.
I did go tear up the trout the other day, and I kept a few small ones. I kept one limit of small ones the second day for bait. I'm gonna, as soon as it warms up just enough to go down to Elephant Butte, I'm gonna go down there and see if I can't catch a few blue cat for the skillet.
Maybe you're right, Stan.
Fellas, trout and salmon would do really well for blues and possibly flatheads if you could keep them fresh enough.
Yeah, I flash froze them. And put them in suck the air out of them. I got to seal mill them. So I mean they were still kicking inside the package when I sucked the air out of them and stuck them in the freezer. So I mean we had a live well, but Yeah, I got a cast net. I know how to throw a cast net. There's a, if I can get, I like carp myself, you know. Oh,
Well,
better than that, but I mean, at least
I've been
I
using
can,
them lately.
when I get out, when I get down there, at least I got bait. You know, if I can't get a hold of no bait, and Chris, when we were down there, we actually, me and my buddy went down there and uh fished a Caballo Lake, which is right down by Elephant Butte, and we ran into Chris, and Chris brought me my rod, you know, and
Nice.
I got one of the Muddy River rods too, so
Aren't those
so
things
stoked.
sweet? I'll tell you
Dude,
what,
that's
them
the
grips
sweetest
are
rod I ever held in my
they
hand.
are. They're like
You know?
a good girl's hip.
Oh man, you ain't kidding. I tell you what, that old Lou rod ain't too shabby itself.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, that Muddy River rod's just, I can't wait to throw it. I cannot wait to throw. I teamed it up with a 7,000 Naboo,
Oh,
and on the Uncle Lou rod, I put a Pin Squall 2. Then I had,
that's almost as good as the 300 black guy.
and then I bought one of them Ancient Mariners, 7,000 Ancient Mariners.
Yeah.
So I'm set up for real catfish. I'm just waiting for it to warm up. I'm gonna have a big yard sale, and I got a shed that I'm gonna pull down to the corner, and I'm gonna say, y'all come look inside it and see what you want, and I'm gonna sell off every damn thing I got set in my drawers in my car, and I'm gonna hook
Duggar,
up.
I'm telling you what, if you ever get somewhere around St. Louis in the summertime, give me a ring.
I'll damn sure make it a special trip just to come see you and bring you a good bottle of whiskey.
Because whether we catch fish or not, as long as Sean's in the boat, if you're in the boat, we're gonna have a whole bunch of laughs.
I'll bring some bail money too, just in case.
You might need some. You might. You know, I always have bail money. Always.
Yes, sir. Oh, you got to keep a little bail money. I'll bring you a good bottle of whiskey and a couple.
Did I ever tell you that the only person I've ever known to get tased twice is Sean? Catfish Heroes got tased. He got tased the first time, and he said, "Is that all you got?" And another one tased him, and it didn't take him down immediately, but it pretty much took him down after that.
I've seen a biggest Indian I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not being prejudiced. He just was the biggest Indian guy I ever seen in my life. He was acting all weird out at one of our spots there. And cop told him, he said, "You need to come here." And he said, "I ain't coming here." And he said, "Well, I'll shoot you with this taser." And he said, "Well, do it." I want you to know it dropped him like a flopping fish, man. I ain't kidding you. And I don't care how big you are. You got the right guy that knows how to use that taser.
Sean's only about 5'10", 220. But I'll tell you what, he took that first tase like it wasn't even, like it was water. And the second one, because the first one was going, now if the first one would have got done, and then they tased him again, he'd have walked right through that too, I think.
Wow.
But it was a double tase.
Wow.
And it was in a parking garage. I would tell you some details, but that I'll let him say that.
Hey, was alcohol involved?
Oh, well, what do you think?
Come on, not Sean.
But it wasn't that much. I mean, holy moly. I'll take so Sean works in a garage. It's a big garage that they work on semi trucks, and his boss is great. It's just two of them that work there. They've got company trucks. They got other people that come through there, and I'll tell you, they get the shit done. But come about 4 o'clock, here come the Bud Lights, and I'm telling you what, those things are singing. They just sing through those things, and when I'm there, you can't walk to that refrigerator freezer without them saying, I forget to get myself one because they're flying and throwing it. I mean, it's on.
There you go.
I got a couple of boys that are my mechanic. I take him beer all the time, just sit there and shoot shit with him, drink beer. And he's like one of my heroes, you know, he'll just stop what he's doing no matter what. I said, "No, don't stop what you're doing. Just when you get time, I need you to work on it." And he said, "Well, here, I'll do it now," you know, but he always hooks me up, and he's been a good friend for over 20 years. And man, I'll pick him up a case of Shiner box and just keep it in their ice box for him. So, And I mean, I've never been a Bud Light drinker, but I do like Bud.
You know, that's a big thing around here, and I believe they get paid a lot in beer because, you know, somebody comes in, they get a little bit of something they need to get done, maybe an oil change, maybe something, maybe they need a thermostat put in, and here comes a case of beer because I have never seen that play. And they got about 20 cases of beer on like ice.
Yeah, well, you know, we
fridge.
They got here in New Mexico, weed is legal, and I know a bunch of growers, and they're always giving me pot, and I got buddies that also pot, and they all do different things. So I just give them a jar of pot. There you go. What do you want for that? No, I'll go ahead. You know, one of these days, it's like one day I'll call and ask back for that favor. You know what I mean?
Well,
you know
and
me.
it's like a tribute. You know, I'll stop every once in a while if I need something done. I'll carry in a case or two of beer and throw it in there, you know, whatever. Pay them some cash.
I'll show up at that mechanics, buddy, because I buy and resell cars. You know, I flip a few cars just to supplement the income because I was a car guy for over 20 years.
Yeah,
but and I'll buy a car and he'll check it out for me, change the oil, serpentine, but make sure I'm not selling a piece of crap. And hell, I'll just go by there and send them a pizza or something. They'll call me. Did you send us a pizza? Well, I'm the only one that ever sends y'all shit like that.
Yeah, well, and there's no better stories than in a garage shop.
Oh,
you
man.
can hear stories all day.
Dude, how he gets anything done, I don't know, because every old fart within 50 miles comes and sees him.
Yep, you know what they tell him? Get out of here. I ain't got time for it. I've heard Sean say it. You better get out of here. Just get. He says.
There'll be just 2 or 3 other ones. They just meet there and start jabbering while the guys are working, and then when they'll come in and they'll add a little to the story or something like that. But I tell you, when you walk into his garage, you can't even believe there's 2 mechanics in there working. That place is so clean. Everything's put away. He's one of them, how do you say it? OCD guys about his tools and how his shop's kept. And I mean, he sends me people all the time that says, Ron said for you to help me buy a car. And I said, okay, I'll help you buy a car. And they just think he's a god, dude. He's such a good person. You don't see that a lot in that business.
Hey, we're all lucky to know guys like that. We really are.
I'm
not that guy. I'm the wood guy. If cars were made out of wood, I'd be the guy. But I'm not the metal guy. I'm not the guy that wrenches. I'm not the guy that whatever.
Me neither, brother.
Do, and they're pros at it. That's it.
Me neither. I can tear down a rod and reel, but that's about it in this world of gun. Yeah. I can do a little gunsmith and fish, but when it comes to turning a wrench, I come out bleeding every time. I can't hardly put gas in a car without bleeding.
Exactly.
I'm a klutz, man. I'm a big old klutz.
And look at Steve. He's a coach and a teacher. And you're a car guy, and I'm a wood guy. And
I was, but he made fun of that a while ago. But I was a commercial fisherman for most of my life. For the first.
Oh, I know. I talked to you about it, and man, I know you're not bullshitting.
Doug,
I played every kind of net, throwed every kind of hook there ever was.
Doug, I was just stirring the pot.
I know you was, Coach. I know you was.
Love it.
But if I can call you on it, you get people starting to believe that shit.
Well, there's nothing better than a group of river rats getting together and talking. And I'll tell you, that's too bad you aren't in my kitchen right now, because I don't think we'd go to sleep until about 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah, there'd probably be a poker game breakout sometime.
Laugh our balls off.
Man, I can't wait to get out there and really go. I'd love to go get a boat and go run my old river, because I haven't been on it in 30 or 40 years. But son, I used to catch some 80-pound flatheads in that thing. There is some freaking toads in that Brazos River. There's few in the
the
St. Bernard
Brazos?
too.
Oh, yeah.
There's some giant gar there. When I say giants, I'm talking 200-pound plus alligator gar.
All right. So, Duggar.
That's a fact there now.
Duggar, you have to tell the folks at home about the bottom jaw on an 80-pound flathead, because when I talk about it, I don't know if people really realize it.
This thick.
Because the bottom jaw on a 80-pound flathead is like
A steel trap.
Is like that big around. No, I mean
that's what I said. That this big around.
I can't
hardly grab it.
I cannot grab my full hand, and I'm not a huge dude, but I don't have tiny hands either. Yeah. But I cannot close my hand all the way like you can like a 40, like the 40's like this, a 30's like that.
That's what I said a while ago. They're like that big around, dude.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous, and a lot of people see like 50s and they guess them to be 80s.
Yeah, and, put one of them in about a 16-foot flat bottom, just a little green. See how long you stay in the boat with him.
Yeah, well, yeah, and
if you lose their minds, dude.
I'm glad you said the green thing, because I've been dealing with a lot of people on TikTok, and they can't imagine why my blues and flatheads are wanting to kick your ass that bad. And then when you put them in the water, you net them and they're blowing water up. You net them, you get them in the boat, and they're slapping you in the freaking shins, and they're knocking your teeth out and all this stuff. And I just tell them, and it's usually in private message, because they just they don't want to go out in the open and say what is the deal with your blues? They're not all like tired and placid and all, because it may take a long fight, but we're leading them to the boat, we're pumping them up, and then they're still green as shit. When
they burp that air, it gives them
fish. What's that?
When they burp that air, they get a little adrenaline rush for that. That releases some pressure on their bodies.
Well,
and it kind of refreshes them a little bit.
Yeah, but not just that. You got an 80 that gets to the boat. You net them, and they're thrashing water. You get them in the boat. They rest a little bit, like maybe a minute or so, and you pick them up, and they're all crazy thrashing, and you put them in the water, and they're all automatically turning. That's because we're not under tackle.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, and I know this because I used to fish giant blues under tackled, and they used to get a lot more tired, because it'd be 45, 50, 55, 60 minutes till you get them in. And so when I tackled up, and you get them in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even 15, 20, because I need to be prepared for like 140-pound fish, 150-pound fish, so I can actually get them to the boat. God. And so when I'm catching something that's like half that big, those things are wanting to kill you still when you get them in. And I never realized this until I went and I North American Fisherman threw in fishermen, because the guy that was the photographer was Al Linder's brother-in-law. Wow. And they contacted me to go down to North Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, and they contacted me to be like a guy that would help them out with their book, Secrets of the Catfish Pros. So I talked to him at length on the phone. I said, okay, so what's your deal? What is the timeline on good photos? And I know a little bit about good photos. And back in the day, there was no digital photos, so they had to do like Polaroids through a special camera to see the light. They had all these things and blah blah blah. So I brought a stock tank, so that when I went out on the lake or the river and caught fish, I'd have to put them in the stock tank, and they'd get rested. And I was grabbing like 80-pound blues that were rested, out of a giant stock tank
and slap the
like,
shit out of you.
Oh, they tore me up so bad.
Oh,
I didn't even want
the
to.
hand be bleeding.
Yeah, and they're having me like I can't even describe it, but they're having me kind of hold it out, and I was a lot more buff back then, and I could hold an 80-pounder out to where it just looked magnificent. But after 7 days of that shit, when big flatheads and big blues get rested, it's nothing, absolutely nothing, like if you just battle them on rod and reel. Yeah, they're going to tear you up a little bit, but let them rest like overnight and then pull them out in the morning. Oh my God. It was hamburger. My actual knuckles got shaved off. And those big blues, they always have 1 or 9 teeth that are like a 1/4 inch longer than the other than all the rest. You know, it's like a bed of nails, but there's like a bunch of them sticking up like that far. It was horrible.
Dude, it's a wonder. It's a wonder. I don't hate catfish because I stepped on a boat one time and I stepped on a high fin, about a 4-pound high fin blue, and put that fin right through the center of my foot, bro.
Oh boy!
Oh my God, dude, that was most. I've been hurt before.
Yeah,
I've been hurt since then, but I have still to this day never had anything hurt me like that. I was just like, oh my God. And then when he broke it off in me, I got to the hospital and they had to knock me out and surgically remove it.
I NFL punted a drum one time and got the dorsal fin in the top of my, like on the top of my big toe, underneath the nail, with a boot on. And it was wintertime.
Sheephead. He's gonna kick it off the boat.
Yep, it was wintertime, and
he got stuck by about 3 of them, man.
And I go like this to my buddy. I go, I just fucked up. He goes, what do you mean? He looks down, and I had steel toe boots on, but it like went in above the steel toe, and you could still see because it was a big drum. I mean, it's about a 10-pound drum, and the whole dorsal fin ripped off into my boot like that, and my boot was stuck to my toe. It was bad. So we didn't leave. I just left it in my boot the rest of the day. In my boot into my toe. I was like, nope, we're not going home because we're on the Fitch. Oh yeah. So I went 3 hours with a drum dorsal fin through my boot into and I knew where it was. I just couldn't get it off. I had to saw the hole around it the next day. I was only like 23 years old, so I didn't give a shit.
All right, y'all hold up. I got a question for you right here.
Yes.
And you two guys are a lot older than I am, and no
if you add us together, we might be older.
What about the? And I've had people tell me that I was a damn fool and that I was lying and that no way and that's not sanitary. But I learned this back when I was a little boy fishing for bullheads down on the bayou. When you got cut by one of them bullheads,
oh yeah,
is to rub that belly slime,
rub his belly,
and rub that belly slime in that cut, and the pain goes right away.
It does.
It does.
That's not a fish tail. That works. Now, you get a serious wound is different. But if you just get poked and it's stinging and stuff like that, if you rub the belly on it, it'll take it away.
You ever done it, Tim?
I have. We didn't have people around here that knew shit about fish. And I'm telling you, in Middle Earth, Illinois, nobody knew anything about fishing back in the day. They didn't know anything. They didn't know any old wives' tales. They didn't know anything. They wouldn't be able to tell you anything except for, well, blah, blah, blah. So I was kind of flying on my own.
Well, I've done it my whole life, and I've had
it works.
And then I've had people tell me that on the internet now, it's all on the internet. I ain't never had nobody tell me it to my face, but that you got to be nuts.
And
That's
it won't
you
get
can't.
infected. And it won't get infected.
It won't even turn red,
No, it won't get infected.
and the pain
So-
will go right away.
Steve and Mr. Duggar, I will tell you what. Even though, I mean, you want to know why? Because the slime coat is their antibacterial.
That's antibacterial. I mean, it's
It-
common sense. I ain't, But now, I didn't know it when I was taught that when I was a little kid fishing
Yeah.
with a cane and a carp. But yeah, it sure
and
does.
and I will say this. I know this for a fact that a flathead skin is more effective than any other fish pretty much on the planet in fresh water. And we know this because the flathead skin is very thick and very viscous. Not only that, they beat up on each other so bad
All
that
of
they
that.
will bite completely through the slime coat, through the skin, down into the meat, and they will still survive.
Epic
Yeah.
Sasquatch Dan, he asked you what your favorite hook is. What's your 80-pound flathead hook? I like 8s and 10s. If I'm fishing for big flatheads. What do you use?
Well, back when I was catching a lot of 80s, I actually used a 7/0 team catfish. But it would be a rough day if they were just backing up. If they would turn a little bit, it's fine. But a
Get 'em
lot
in
of times
the
the 80s will just come out and bite and just back up. And I would miss a lot of big fish back in those days. But I fished a lot back in those days. Like I would fish 28 days in June. I would fish 25 days in May. July around here sucks because it's we're in that part of the country where there isn't a whole lot of I don't even know how to say it. There's not a lot of spawn or not spawn. It's either spawn or not spawn. It's pretty cut and dried here. Like if you go out to the East Coast, you go a little bit south. That spawn it has a bigger leniency. Mine's pretty narrow, so it's a narrow piece. But out of 60 days, May and June, I'd fish 58 days, 55 days, and so the thing about the hook was back in those days, the best hook we had was it was actually the Daiichi Circle Chunk Light in a 7/0, which now they call it a Team Catfish 8/0, and it was the same things that the exact same hook everybody was using on the Florida coast to catch tarpon, and it was actually the best hook. Before that, all I could get was like a 4 and 5/0 bass true turn hook, and those were a joke.
Yeah. Well,
What about tail hooks, Tim? You never used
I
tail?
did. I did use some kale hooks. There's no doubt, but it was a short stint that the kale hooks came out. And matter of fact, I still have some in the garage, and I have some gigantic kale hooks. I mean, they're like 12/0 kale hooks. Even though the gap is huge, but I'd have to draw it. But the gap is huge, so it comes down like this, and then it just kind of points back. Yeah. But the problem was with live baits, that gap, the short upward part would get filled too much with a bigger live bait, and they just weren't that great. They were great cut bait hooks, but terrible live bait hooks. You'd have to really put the meat to them. And I wish I was filming back in those days because you guys would laugh.
Hey, Eric,
I looked like freaking like what's his name? Jimmy Houston, setting the hooks on flatheads, standing up on the back neck as hard as I could, reeling all the way down and giving that super heave home like this to get through. Like maybe I'd use a quillback that was like this long. And with the kale hooks, it was ridiculous because you have to rip through the back of a quillback, and you know how tough those things are. Yeah.
I don't even know what a quillback is.
Yeah, quillback carp sucker. Look them up on the internet. You have to net them. You can't really catch them. They look.
We don't have. I don't think we got them down here. I never heard of such.
You do. You've got them down there. They're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. East of the mountain range and
JTC.
Matter of fact, they're even east of the Alleghenies.
Eric,
I never heard of them.
This question, does that apply with only bullheads, or will that work on any catfish? Now, we're talking about them just sticking you. We're not talking about you getting cut up like Mark, because when you get cut down to the bone, of course you can get infected. But when you just get that little jab by messing with them, every kind of catfish will do. It's good to do that with. But if you get like Mark did and get your fingers cut down to the bone, yeah, you need some antiseptic.
You know what works the best is you get those stupid gloves you can buy in a box. They're like the medical gloves. You throw a bunch of Neosporin around, like on your knuckles. Like I'll get it all the way back to here. And if it gets real infected, real bad, like red and pussy and all that shit, you just throw a bunch of Neosporin in there, and before you go to sleep, just slip them gloves on, like you're going to give your wife a proctology or whatever.
I work with so many fish. I always kept a bottle of that green alcohol.
That works.
And rinse what else your hands off a lot during the day. That'll help you. And a loon. It's stuff that you use to toughen your hands.
Whoever else is at home, you can go to Walmart and get the bottle of peroxide, which it costs like $1. It's in a spray bottle. If you get all tore up, you just spray that shit on, and you just go to town, and it does.
Remember, wetness is your enemy. When you got a cut on your hand and you're out there, it's your enemy. It opens you up to infection.
Well, Duggar,
if you can keep it dry, you're good.
Duggar, when I was telling you, 25 days in May, even the big shad would start to tear my hands up.
Oh, hell yeah, they would.
Because those big shad are kind of sharp on the bottom.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I'd grab them and I'd cut them with the scissors and blah, blah, blah. So I got to wear about 2 times a day. I just spray that, peroxide on it.
I just rinse my hands with that alcohol, and then dab stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that peroxide's good stuff.
It is. And it will take the fish smell off, too. Like, my wife doesn't even want to, if I come back from a fishing trip, like, she don't even want to see me.
Light, ain't it, Stan?
I go into there and all my, I get that. I got a good story for you. So I was coming home from a guide trip in May. I was coming back from the Illinois River in Ottawa, in which I was slinging shad like nobody's business. And so my big joke was my pants would be like regular jeans, like light colored jeans, but from the pockets all the way to the knees, it'd be black. Because I'd get the shad guts and the slime and the whatever, and I just wipe them on the pants. So I got pulled over, bringing my boat home. It was probably 10:30 at night. Cop pulled me over. He says, "Hey, I need you to get in the vehicle." Well, I said, "You sure you want to do that?" He goes, Yeah. So I get in the vehicle, and he's like, "Pardon me, I don't mean to be insulting, but what is that smell?" I go, "Oh, it's my shad pants." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I do the catfish, whatever." And I didn't stay in there probably more than a minute. And as soon as he's like, "You can get out now." And I see him get a spray bottle of some smell good shit and like spray it around his cop car like that. And I was like, holy moly, the shad pants got me out of a ticket.
What happened here now?
Huh?
I don't know what I did.
I used a cast net for mullet and them horse shad, them gizzard shad, you know, and I'd sell them for bait. But man, I'd get some bands after being out all day getting shad or mullet that if you let dry in the sun, they could just stand in the corner. They just get all hard. You just pop them out and put them back on because they ain't no use because in about 15 minutes you're going to have them the same way.
Yep, it's like 30-day football pants.
Yeah, that ain't. Oh, they were terrible. Dude. They were terrible. Well, you been fishing?
Me? No. I wish I was. We have frozen water here. I could get to open water if Sean and I chose to drive like we do in the summertime. Yeah. The problem is the big fish start leaving about Halloween. They start moving downstream. They start going up the Missouri. They kind of leave our haunts, and although people can catch them, you're gonna involve a lot of time doing it. I like to go when it's hot because I've done all the winter stuff. I've done all the spring stuff. I've done all the summer, fall, all that stuff. I know when they're there. I've got them patterned, and that's when I do it.
Now, we went out the other day and we were, there's people all around the lake. It's about 17 degrees. Literally, we had to keep flicking the ice out of our eyelids,
Oh, yeah.
And everybody wasn't doing too good. And they kept seeing us hook up. And they said, good Lord, what are y'all? We were throwing cast masters. And we'd get them down there towards the bottom and we'd drink it. We'd jerk them, let them flutter back down and move them. We just kicked their ass, dude. We must have caught 50 of them.
51?
And trout.
Okay.
And then I kept a limit of small ones, for bait and stuff. And Ed goes, "Why do you want them little?" I said, "Because they're perfect bait size." You know what I mean? And I kept 5 the next day to put on the smoker. I like to smoke trout. That's the only way I'll eat them things, But I'll smoke them.
Duggar, I got a question.
Make a little fish dip.
I don't know why, but I think that if you ever got into it, you would like what Steve likes as far as like treasure hunting.
I do that.
I think y'all need to talk about treasure hunting because I kind of like that too. I'm just no good at it. So, Steve is a treasure hunter, and so are you. And
I've got a go bug. I've got a go bug too.
Well, y'all talk about that, and I'll listen. And I'll have some good questions.
I don't know. I don't hunt for gold. I don't live where they is.
I don't just hunt for gold. We hunt a lot. All through the mountains in here, there's old cabins and stuff that literally from the 1800s and the early 1900s, and they didn't have a bank back then. They had a jar. They put it in and buried it.
Yes.
There's actually been some people up by Golden. We were hunting the same piece of property. We'd find thimbles and buttons and all kinds of crap and coin every once in a while, but never no gold. We here it's a placer gold, so you don't get a bunch of nuggets. Every once in a while you'll find a nice little nugget, but nothing big. But this cat found 4 cans full of $20 gold pieces,
right?
Like brand new, and it made the paper. He made 10 mil off of them or something like that.
Hey.
They were all pristine coins.
Yeah, they call them photo banks.
He found like four big cans of just $20 gold pieces, And I like looking around here because we had a bunch of outlaws in this part of the country.
Y'all had a Spanish up through there too.
Yeah, and we have a big war site here, Goliad, up here by Pecos, where I live, and we find a lot of bullets and cannonballs, and there's a strewn field here, a meteor strewn field, so we find a lot of meteorites and stuff. In fact, I got a piece.
You find the right meteorite, that's worth more money than a piece of gold.
That's a meteorite right there.
That's
See,
awesome.
see where it came in, where it melted.
If you find the right makeup of meteorite, it's very valuable.
Well, there's two different meteors that hit in this area. That one was basically an iron chunks. The other one was like an olivine with a crystal, some weird crystals that's really valuable, and they've found some pretty good size ones. But there's people that go up in this mountain daily to hunt meteors because there's been some big ones found here.
Yeah.
And I found 4 or 5 this because this I actually pull up hot and it'll read iron. But,
Right.
but when you find this about 8 inches deep, and there's no reason for a piece of iron slag be out there, you know it's the meteorite.
That's
And
right.
it feels weird too. It's almost like it's been, you know, I don't know. It's real. It's ridged, but it's smooth. It's kind of a weird piece of rock.
That's got a lot of miles on it, don't it?
Very, very heavy for its size. But
Got a lot of miles on it.
I guess it does. We got a lot of Indian arrowheads and stuff like that around here, but I have found a couple of gold chains, and I like detecting on beaches up in Florida. That's the only place I ever found any serious gold. And I found some old Spanish gold up there, and some. Of course, a lot of people swim there. I found a few diamond rings and stuff, but
Yeah.
I did find a little bit what you can call pirate gold or Spanish gold. I found one gold piece about this big, and me back in the money that was nothing. I always had plenty of money back in them days, and so I got offered a little money for it. Hey, yeah, here, take it. Hell, that thing's worth $20,000 now.
I wish I was the guy that offered a little bit of money for that.
Yeah,
you two might be the most interesting men in all of YouTube.
Wow, man.
As far as the things that Steve and you have done and the things that you're interested in, I think you guys are interesting as shit.
Dude, I've fished all over the Gulf, the Atlantic. Been a lot around Cuba. We used to slip into Campeche and catch them pink shrimp, and I hope we didn't get caught by a gunboat going out. You know what I mean? And
caught by a gunboat. You don't hear that sentence often.
No. But we fished a lot of like white marlin tournaments up around the Caymans and blue marlin tournaments, and I've actually met the guy that invented the bimini back in the days, and I actually rented the guest house at that famous writer over there in Key West. What was his name?
It wouldn't be Hemingway, would it?
Yeah, Hemingway. I rented his guest house, so I was right next to the Hemingway house. I actually came out. In fact, I don't know if you can see it, but back on that icebox, I got a piece of ivy coming off that actually came from that house years and years and years ago. And I got one of the original six-toed cats from the lineage of his six-toed cat.
Yeah.
Down here. So,
did you know down in Key West they still let all them animals walk wild around and all the honky tonks because of Ernest Hemingway?
Yeah.
Dogs
and little roosters, little bantam roosters.
Little roosters, they just walk around in the restaurants and everywhere. That's all because of that six-toed cat, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been all over the place. I fished with some famous people back in the day because, I that's what I did. I took people fishing. That's, when I had a job commercial fishing for yellowtail, wahoo, whatever, grouper, whatever, the guy had a need for, whatever we could catch, whatever was biting back in the day. And but on the weekends I'd go out with this one guy that does charters, and I was his mate. And when he wasn't feeling good, something, I'd take his boat out just to keep making money for him. But I've taken some pretty famous people out, and they just people. You know,
They're just people. You're
they're
right.
just
You know,
people,
and
you know.
I always said this: if Tom Cruise walked in my kitchen today, and I'd be like, "What do you want, dude?" Because
He doesn't impress me.
famous isn't shit.
Yeah.
What is shit is if you are a good person or not. If you're the
Yeah.
kind of guy that I actually want to listen to, because I don't know if anybody famous is actually worth the shit or not. They're always faking it. I want to hear from guys like Steve and you that have done some things in life and can tell some stories. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, when I was 13, 14 years old, my parents, they were in the antique business. And they had a whole bunch of friends. They're all dead now. But they had some of the most interesting stories. And I'd be like 12 years old. And all the other kids are running around and acting like idiots. And I'm in the house with my parents listening to the old stories
Yeah.
that mattered. And you
Yeah.
know, the crazy stuff and
I
the
can.
good stuff.
That's one of my favorite things to listen to. You know, even though I'm starting to be almost an old part myself, listening
Yeah.
to old part stories has always
Yep.
been one of my favorite
Yep.
things ever
Yep.
since I was a kid.
Well, I can
So,
listen to you and Steve all day long. All day long.
we've been around. We still sniffing air though, ain't we, Steve?
We're looking at the grass from the green side.
Yeah, that's right. As long as I can see the top of the grass, I'm happy. But
Yeah,
yeah,
buddy.
it was a time I could drink. I can't drink anymore, man. I can't drink any less, but I can't drink anymore. I can still have a cocktail, but
Mhm.
I'm spoiled. My taste goes to good whiskey and cheap liqueurs. You know, I'm still 100 proof Southern Comfort drinker. I can't help it. I've always loved that shit with lime, with a big squeeze of lime on ice. That's the way I like it.
Well,
But
well, Duggar, I have degraded because at one time when I was hanging out with Sean back in the day, my favorite comment was the waitress would come up. If you say, "What are we drinking?" I'd say, "I want the most ruthless, horrible shot you've got."
oh,
And so they'd start going down the list. Well, we got a snake bite here. I said, that sounds good. Let me have a snake bite. Drink that. That's a girl drink. What else you got? So, you know, you go to a whole bunch of different places. And when your favorite drink is something like Bacardi 151, probably lit on fire, it's pretty hard to top that.
oh
So,
my God,
yeah.
yeah, our kicking
We
chicken,
once
wild
lit
turkey.
a whole
Yeah.
pyramid about a foot and a half high on fire. Just Bacardi 151, and that was actually right before my wedding. So being all the guys in the wedding party went down to the local bar, which is about maybe a block down, right before I got married. And we had a tower. I have pictures of it still. That whole sumbitch was on fire, and we drank every one of them.
Ooh,
Oh yeah.
ooh. I've got a big love for Basil Hayden. I don't know if you've ever drinking any Basil
No,
Hayden whiskey.
no.
That is a good single run malt. That's good liquor, man. But
Duggar, I'm not a good whiskey drinker.
I don't like enough to
No.
get twisted on, but every once in a while I'll take a couple shots for good. But the worst phase of my life, I was I was drinking Rumpelmints. I was a schnapps drinker, man. I loved schnapps. I just
Yeah.
loved it. And man, we drink them peach schnapps slammers. God, get squirrely as hell, man. But it was a girly drink. You get the girls to drink them too, and pretty soon they'd
Oh
follow
boy.
you out to the beach. Let's go drink some more slammers.
So my best friend turned me on to a movie. He said Tim. He said if we give you whiskey, you're a lot like this guy. And I said, what? What are you talking about?
Give me.
And I knew I had a bad history with whiskey. And he
Oh,
says to me, he goes, Well, you should watch The Unforgiven because I'm going to start calling you William Money.
Oh no!
Because I turn from like nice guy that's like whatever to like
skeptic,
bad whiskey guy.
Good.
So ever since then, I didn't touch a drop of whiskey after.
Well, I tell you that Will Mundy, the way Clint Eastwood played,
Yeah,
he was a bad guy, man.
I never was a drunk because I hated being drunk. I detested it.
Yeah.
I love a glow,
Yep,
but I hate being drunk. To this day,
yeah,
I
and
hate being drunk.
I turned from a nice, happy glow to whiskey drunk, and it's not good because then I start thinking, and it's not good.
My body has a way of telling me, hey, I'll stop mid swallow that way. I think I've had enough. You know, I've learned over the years because I have throats and squirrely buzzes. You know, when I woke up in Louisiana one time when I was supposed to be on a job in Old Ocean one time, and I was
just stop. Just stop.
Left.
Just Duggar, just stop. Whoa. When you start a story with "I woke up in Louisiana one time," you know it's good. Continue.
And we'd been working shutdowns, you know, and he gave us a day off. We all went and just got pie-eyed, man. And I had met this little old gal, and I took her with me and my buddy. We ended up in Louisiana. I kind of woke up in the car, and she was driving. I said, where we at? And she goes, we're just outside of Louisiana. I said, what? And I said, what are we doing here? And I said, man, we got to go back because we're supposed to be on the job, you know, and then we was 5 hours away. I said, pull in that truck stop there. I had no clue who this girl was. And she said, well, I want to get some cigarettes. She went in, I slid over and gunned it, and I left her at the store and took off, me and my buddy, because we were fixing to get our ass fired. And we were making some money, boy. And I got to this barn there. We were pipe fitting. And Stubby come out there and he goes, what's up, boys? What the hell y'all doing here? Y'all got the next 2 days off. Don't you know that? And we go, really? Well, hell, we thought we had to come to work. And now you got the next couple of days off. They got some stuff together. And he goes, where'd you end up with my niece last night? Y'all was out hanging out with my niece last night. I said, was your niece?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And I said, all right, well, we'll see you in a couple of days. Off to Louisiana. When I got back, I am not lying. When I pulled back up there and she was sitting there clicking her nails, sitting on the sidewalk, clicking her nails, and she said, I said, come on, let's go. She goes, how'd you know I was coming back? She said, I figured you'd talk to Stumpy, you'd figure out who I was, and you'd come back. Sure enough, buddy, I come and got her ass. I was scared of Stumpy. He wasn't about getting fired either.
Duggar, if I had any footage from Louisiana, I would name my next TikTok, I woke up in Louisiana one day. And I would. Yeah. But I don't have any. I
was tugboating up.
I might do it anyway.
We used to tugboat up to Chapelaya to a little place called Crotch Springs. And they had a hooker house there, and I didn't know about it. You know, a regular bordello, and I didn't know. And we was in town, you know, and the girl I'd been seeing, the old man came in, so I didn't have nothing to do. They said, "Oh boy, off the Tony Toots," he said, he goes, I know a place where there's lots of girls. I said, well, let's go. And I had my brother with me, my brother Joe, and he's my oldest brother, you know, and we go over there and we pulled up in this place and there was girls looking out the window. I said, man, there's all kinds of girls there. And I thought that's all it is there. Joe said, Doug, this is a hooker house. And I go, what? I said, man, I ain't going in that place.
So Steve, when this ends, you have to name it Steve Adam, Mississippi Hooker House live. It'll be the most views you've ever had.
Dude, you notice I'm keeping my mouth shut.
You know, I didn't partake, but it really was one. I didn't even know there were really places like that, you know. 'Cause
When he said that a chaffalao, all I could think about was Creole.
Yep,
you know,
yep. And you know what, Steve? When you asked Duggar up here, you knew what kind of show this was going to be.
I'm just listening.
I'm sorry.
I'm just listening.
And things that I've had an eventful life. I can't lie. You know, I've been all over the place. And
Well, I got to now. This
I've
is
been out of
this,
states in Mexico.
yeah. Now this is a pretty good little old. I got the opportunity to go down to Manchac, Louisiana, and stay in a is a deer camp, fish camp, whatever you want to call it. It's and that Manchac is on the border between Lake Bourne and Lake Pontchartrain. It's where the Middendorf's restaurant is down there, Duggar. You might have heard of Middendorf's Catfish House.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyhow, I was staying with locals, and I told them there's any such thing as one of these nightclubs or honky tonks out in the swamp. And they said, yeah, there's one. It's 8 or 9 miles up Lake Bourne. That was the most unique thing that I have ever experienced.
Well, it sounds like it.
This thing was built in the cypress trees, and they had a Zydeco band in there and a bar. Of course, I was with locals. You know, I would never have taken my boat and stepped out on the pier and walked into the place. The only way to get there is in a boat.
Look like a pirate club.
Well,
exactly
Steve,
right. But man, that was fun.
Steve, had I been 25 or under, that would have been on my tour trip.
Look, you ever been to Cocodrie?
No.
Well, I went down there once, and I thought I was going to go fishing. But when we pulled up to Cocodrie and stepped out of the truck, and there was about 20 folks standing there looking at us like, "You ain't from here?" I stayed in the truck. No.
You don't hard lining back in the day, man.
Steve,
you don't go
Steve,
back.
That was all my favorite. I'd be like, yeah.
Well, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Water.
Yeah, well, I was a little bit of both back in the day.
But that place, that honky tonk out there in the swamp, that was pretty fun. Now we had a big time. I mean, there was no trouble, and they, like I said, they had a 2 or 3 piece, I guess, at some time 5 piece Zydeco band playing, and I couldn't understand half of the people in there. I couldn't hardly order a Budweiser, man. I just had to hold up an empty can and say, "Oh."
My wife and I ended up in Cross, South Carolina, and I couldn't understand directions from the local girls at the Walmart because they just couldn't enunciate at all.
You probably wouldn't understand. Couldn't understand how to get across town in Greenville.
No, probably not. But I would have forged my way through it.
Yeah, that was fun though. That was really a fun night. And there's no more fun-loving people than Cajuns, besides Italians. Now, Italians love a good time.
Mm-hmm.
The Cajuns do too. And that's fun to be around people that like to have a good time.
Okay.
I have several Cajun kinfolk that have duck camps and fishing camps and deer hunting camps and stuff like that. It was always a blast to go up there.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I really had a big time. Of course, I was with a stick in the mud. He didn't even hardly drink. But when he took me to that place, of course, he was the same age as my oldest.
How you doing, buddy?
He was the same age as my oldest son. So, I mean, I was an old guy then.
Yeah.
That ain't been that many years ago.
Sometimes it's easier to be the old guy.
Yeah, well, Shelby Stanger, that guy on the Swamp People, the logger.
Yeah.
I shook hands with that fool.
Really?
He is
just a crazy guy there.
Look, and he had that big silver
Oh yeah.
Played at 357 on his hip with them short breeches on and no shirt.
The short britches.
He just as crazy in real life as he is on that TV show. He was those guys I was with. They hunted with him. They hunted, and I mean, I thought I was meeting some kind of, I was gonna get to meet some kind of celebrity. That we're gonna go see Stanger. That's what they call him, the Stanger. We're gonna go see Stanger because he lives at the mouth of the Columbia River, some kind of funny name river that runs down through Mississippi and Louisiana. And it runs into Pontchartrain right there at Manchac. It wasn't 5 miles from where we were staying, and we pulled up in there, and you could see all them old big logs up there that he shows on his, on his TV show, on the Swamp People show. And them old boats sitting out there, and that thing, he goes out and Pontchartrain with the crane on it. It was all sitting out there. I said, damn, he really has got all this stuff.
Pulling out them swamp logs.
Yeah. And, man, he's an idiot. He's just crazy.
He was an idiot.
He's crazy.
Steve, my mom is from deep southern Illinois, which is no different than Tennessee, Kentucky, or anything else. And my Uncle Bill, which is her older brother, he's passed on now, but he ain't too far off Shelby, except for the tiny pants.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing different. I mean, and all of his kids is about half loony too. And so yeah, I got and then my dad's a clinical psychologist. So between my dad and my mom, I end up kind of right in the middle.
There you go.
I got a bunch of redneckery going on with a bunch of craziness.
What part of Southern Illinois?
A bunch of intelligence to go on the other side. So it's a dichotomy of of epic proportions.
Where in Southern Illinois? Around
Shelbyville, Pana, Sullivan area.
Pana? Boy, my wife is kin to about half the folks in Pana, Illinois.
Pana? Well, actually, you just named Pana. That is where my Uncle Bill, Kevin, David, everybody on my mom's side is from.
They're not Agnes, are they?
Huh?
Any Agner? Agners?
No, they're Smiths.
My wife is kin to about half of Pana, Illinois.
You know, that's kind of crazy. Because Pana is not a big town.
Not at all. She, in fact, at one point in time, the only place she'd ever been to out of Mississippi was Pana, Illinois. That was back.
I'm telling you what, Pana, Illinois ain't far from Mississippi. It is by road, but it ain't by action.
That may be how all them folks got to Mississippi.
You darn right.
Ago when Steve was talking about that honky donk out in the middle of the woods, polar bears, is he describing Porkies?
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know what they talking about Porkies, but
Porkies. That's,
Porkies. I don't know what they're talking about, but I know I knew of them and everything, and I said I would love to go to one, and I got a chance. I ain't been to one once, done it once, but that was fun.
So Steve, the movie Porky's isn't all that crazy because back in the day when Sean and I, we had a bachelor pad house about maybe 2 miles that way as the crow flies. And we used to go down to this place, which is about halfway between us and Pana. And it would be one of those joints, but when you pulled up to it and the lights was on in the inside, you could see through the boards the light coming out of it. And that was one fun place.
Yeah. What is
places like it around here in Madrid?
Oh yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere, there'd be just a beer joint,
Yeah.
And there's really not a bunch of places to go around here. So, and there'd be bikers, there'd be some mountain hippies come rolling in there. You'd look at them people like, man, I wouldn't tangle that guy with a double barrel shotgun. You know what I mean? Just some rough looking rascals, boy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We
didn't go because the rough looking rascals. We went because the awesome chicks were in there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. You walk in there and you look around. That's the reason you go there. Maybe find a pretty girl to talk to and have a cold beer.
Oh yeah.
But then you'd look over there and there'd be some real motorcycle gang fellas sitting over there, and there's some mountain men that just didn't play well with others. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, when I was out there in that swamp, the last thing I did was even look towards one of them women.
Absolutely.
Because I knew what would happen.
You know why, Steve? Because out of us three, Steve's the smartest. That's why.
Well, I knew I'd end up as alligator food.
I was always pretty smart about that kind of thing, because
I wasn't gonna do that.
I was raised country. You respected women, and I've seen what happened to fellas didn't respect women.
Yeah, and we were all raised to respect women. I mean, some of us just wasn't as smart as that.
I was raised to respect my own ass.
Exactly.
That's right.
I had three other brothers that forged ahead of me, and I sat up there. What they done?
I was the oldest experiment. I was the guy.
I was the youngest of four boys.
You forging the way. I sat up there and patted my foot on the bar stool and drank beer and looked straight at the band.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hear you.
But that was fun. It really was. I wouldn't mind going back. Look, man, when I first this is pretty good now. That the only place I've ever been close to that place out there in the swamp was down at Port Gibson, Mississippi. The town, Grant wouldn't burn Port Gibson. It was too beautiful to burn. I don't know if anybody knows the history of the Civil War, but he didn't burn Port Gibson.
Sherman didn't?
Grant.
Oh, Grant.
Grant didn't burn. He ordered it not burnt. And when Grant took, when they were trying to conquer Vicksburg, Mississippi, which sits right on the river. Port Gibson is 20-something miles below Vicksburg, but it sits off of the river 7-8 miles. It's not directly on the river like Vicksburg is. Well, Grant couldn't take it, so he went around, marched down through Louisiana, and then brought his troops across on the Mississippi side down below Vicksburg, south of Vicksburg, which put him adjacent to Port Gibson. And that's where they marched inland. And of course, they fought all the way from the riverbank all the way to Jackson, Mississippi, which is 50 miles east of Vicksburg. They fought all the way across. But when they came into Port Gibson, and the Confederates had fallen back, and they were burning everything, homes, that they were destroying everything, because Sherman was running it. He was his main general. He told Sherman, don't burn nothing. This place is too pretty to burn. And they bypassed Port Gibson, but that's a different story. But anyway, when I started catfishing down at Port Gibson, we went down. It was 15 to 20 of us went down to a primitive camp at the boat ramp into the Mississippi River out on the river at Port Gibson, and there's a Civil War what do you call it, park there. It's called Grand Gulf, Mississippi. Of course, we wasn't at the park. We were a little bit below it. But anyway, we stayed there all this time. And when we were going in to the boat ramp, trying to follow directions, we went by this place. It looked like it's going to fall in. And out on the front, it had a hand-painted sign that said, Wild Man's Den of Sin.
Oh.
So we go on in. We get back there and we stay 6-7 days. And caught catfishing out in the river. We put in the boat ramp right there and going out in the river and catching. We were catching good catfish and all. So I got to know the boy that was hosting this thing. He had a camp down there. His boy's name is Scott Webb. Now he's working up in North Dakota now. He freed his little T-Hiney off. But he had a camp there at that time, and so I got to know him pretty well. He's a young fella. And he invited me to come back down there. So I went back down there 3 or 4 weeks, a month later. And so we fished. And we went right back by the Den of Sin and went down in yonder and put the boat in and went fishing, come back out, went to the camp. And he kind of feeling me out, I guess, because I was old enough to be his daddy. In fact, I was older than his daddy. And he says, we sitting over there, and they all call me Coach. And he said, Coach, and we drinking beer there in his camp and all. And he said, you ever go out and listen to music? I said, well, no, I ain't really a big music fan. I said, and I can't remember this other boy that he had a camper there on the same property. He said, well, me and I'm going to call him Walter. I can't remember his damn name. Me and Walter we're going to go out tonight. You want to go with us? I said, where are we going? He said, oh, we're going to a little old place over here. I said, you going to the Den of Sin? He said, well, yeah, that's right down the road. It was about 5 miles. So we went with him. And look, that was the most unique. They had a pool table, and they had a big U-shaped bar and bar stools all the way around. They had a pole over there, one of them big shiny poles, and they had a seabird, a jukebox. And the place was packed. I mean, it was packed. Well, over a period of about 3 years of going in there, when I went in the door, they set my Dixie cup up on the counter with my paper in it to spit in and my bow. I didn't even have to. And I had pictures of my fish I caught down there all on I had one of the funny places where they put the pictures up and everything.
Yeah.
When you bring in show them pictures of big fish you caught. And I saw some of my old friends from college that I played football with. They had a different name down there than they had when I was playing with them in college. But yeah, I know who they were when they walked through the door. And I'd get up and walk around, and I'd whisper in their ear and tell them something. I said, I'm finna kick your big ass. And I tell the guys, Scott and the boys I was with, I said, I'm finna go around here. What's his name? They said, we call him Big Papa. I said, well, I'm finna go around here and take him outside. I did that to 2 or 3 different fellas. It was a world famous place in that part of the country. Famous. Everybody come in there. I saw all kinds of people in there. And Tim, I don't know if you were on this stream the night that I was talking about. This fellow walked in the door, and when he walked in the door, I knew who he was.
I think I was.
And he went over and sat down at the end of the bar, and he ordered I believe he ordered I don't remember what a Budweiser. I believe he ordered a Budweiser, and it was him and one other guy. And I was sitting there looking at him, and I walked around there to him, and I said, look, fella, I said, I don't know who the hell you are. I said, but I want you to sign this cap for me. And I took my old nasty fishing cap off that I had cleaned up, but I still had my old cap on. I said, I want you to sign my cap for me. He said, who do you think I am? I said, I think you Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Oh my God!
And he signed that.
Oh, it was Junior.
He signed it, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and I've seen his autograph 1,000 times, and it looks just like it. And I still got it on the bill of cap.
Oh, that's cool.
And he come in that place, man. I said, and I turned around and I said, I thank you, bud. And I hit him on the shoulder. And I didn't cause no
See
stink.
that, Duggar? That's why
His daddy was a
That's why
man.
we're in
That was
coaches
his
chat
daddy was
right
my
now.
hero.
Hear stories like that.
Yeah,
It's pretty awesome.
his daddy was my hero.
And yeah, mine too. That's the reason I knew who he was. And my buddies Scott and Walter said, "Who is that?" I said, "Yeah, y'all figure that out on your own." And because I wasn't gonna cause, the man came in there. Why he was there? Who the heck knows why he was there? But years later, this story goes on and on. And I just hope none of my kids are watching this. Nobody I coached and taught. Years later, they had they'd have a big party, a big wedding over there in Port Gibson. Folks was always getting married in Port Gibson at that chapel with that finger standing, that gold tower. I don't know. You just look up Port Gibson and you're going to see the picture of that gold finger pointing up there. And people would get married there. Well, the wedding party inevitably would end up out there at the Den of Sin. And I've seen some of the fanciest folks in the world at that Den of Sin. A bunch of rednecks, and then it's just a big mix.
That's my kind of bar.
Well, one night we were sitting in there, and this wedding party came in, and there was a gal, I'll never forget her. She had long black hair. She had on a beige blouse and a brown leather vest. And dolled up, dressed to the tens. And she was a stone pony. And so we all sitting there watching, and some of them they were dancing, and there was a whole group of them. And so I go to working at the school, teaching and coaching. And one night after a football game, one of the daddies comes up. He divorced, but he got 2 boys on the football team. He says, "Coach, I want to tell you how good a job y'all did tonight." This is on Friday night. It's about 10 o'clock, 10:15. He said, "I want to tell you how good a job y'all did tonight at the football game. In the game, we beat somebody." I said, "Well, thank you. I ain't going to call no name." And he said, "I want to introduce you to my girlfriend. He's divorced, and but the 2 boys on the football team." And who am I standing there getting introduced to? That stone pony from the Den of Sin. And he says, "This is so and so and so. So she's from Vicksburg," which I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "I spent a lot of time in Vicksburg." And she looked at me like, "Where were you down at Vicksburg?" And I said, "I used to spend a lot of time at the Den of Sin." I thought that girl was going to faint, man. She didn't remember me, of course, but she knew. No. She knew exactly what I was trying to insinuate, that that was her. That was that good-looking gal that was in there that night. And that old boy ended up marrying that girl. That was pretty good, man. I said, "Look at him." Because I didn't ever say anything.
So, Steve, I'm going to say something for all because if this stuff stays on YouTube forever, after we're all dead and gone, young people right now, if you ever actually listen to this, stuff like this is what we kind of live for. I'm a younger person. I love to hear the stories, the stuff that happens to people along their lives. And it may not mean anything to you, but it means something to some people.
Oh well, it just
If you get a chance
stuff
to
that
watch
happens,
it,
man.
watch it.
Just stuff that happens.
It is, and everybody's got a good perspective, and you know, it's just worth it. This reminds me of when I was young, and I would talk to all my parents' friends, and you'd hear all these crazy stories. You know, they was antique dealers, and some of them was treasure hunters, and some of them was this and that and the other, and commercial fishermen, and all this stuff, and it's pretty darn fantastic.
I was actually going to join them guys up there in Florida recovering them Spanish galleons and stuff as a diver, and I blew my eardrum out diving off of a high dive at the hotel. They had an Olympic sized pool, and I dove in there and I busted my eardrum, so I couldn't go past the first stage. And then about 6 months after that happened, that's when they found the mother loads. You know what I mean? These guys just had shot
When they found that token.
a token, yeah, that's who I was going to go to work for.
Well,
because that's where I was off of, you know, and I blew out my eardrum, and that kept me from going. I to this day I can't go past first stage because
I never been.
That's why Sean and I wear the Jolly Roger.
Right on, man.
Because when I was a kid, I was all about pirate stuff and treasure and all that stuff. You know, I read everything I could get my hands on about pirates, Jacques Lafoot and Blackbeard, and you know this, and even little known pirates. But I mean that we wear that because that was my thing when I was young. Right before I got into like monster catfish hunting. Yeah. So it kind of goes hand in hand, and I do love fishing sunken ships, and I've actually been lucky enough to actually fish and catch giant blues on shipwrecks from basically the American Revolution.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean that whole thing ties in, and some people have asked me, well, what's up with the pirate wear? You know, when I'm doing that stuff. Well, it just kind of goes with it. I mean, we're kind of outlaws, and we kind of, you know, do what we want to do, and we just fish for monster fish. And,
well, you know why pirates are pirates, don't you?
What's that?
Because they are.
Yeah, exactly.
I never was
because they are.
I've never been.
Pirates started out legally, though. I mean, really. I mean, they started out as a
mercenaries
thing of the
for the king or the queen,
as a force of the crown. They started out legally, and then pretty soon, as soon as they got too much power, then the crown said piracy is illegal. So you know, it's kind of this giant dichotomy of if you're working for us, it's awesome, but as soon as you're not working for us, now you know we're going to put you to death. Yeah. So I mean,
hey y'all, hog leg and them fitness to crank up. I just looked at the clock. Okay. We got to get out of here.
Well,
yeah, it's 1
o'clock. It's 1 o'clock, and
call hog leg time to come over here. What the hell? You're more important.
No, I ain't gonna do that. No, I can't do that.
Coach, you're just too kind of man. That's really.
I just happen to look at the clock.
Just that you're like me. You just got respect for people, and that's what you know. I guess that's what attracts me to you. That you're good people.
All right. Well, we got to go now. Really, I'm serious. We got to get out of here. Enjoyed it. Thank y'all for coming up, Tim.
Hey, thanks for letting me come up.
Appreciate everybody over here in the chat for hanging out.
See you.
And we'll see y'all later.
And I meant it, both of you. If you get close to Chicago, anytime in August, September, come on. We'll put you on the boat.
Illinois.
Well, I'm 2 hours south of that, but yeah.
All right, as long as I don't have
Chicago, Peoria. Yeah.
Well, let's go.
All right, y'all.
Take care of your little bitty selves. Mr. Duggar does love everybody. Y'all be cool.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Coach.